Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel and thanks for joining me here today. I am a YouTube boy. I grew up watching content on here. This is where I'm trying to cement my job. This is my home. I grew up here, I'm staying here. It's what I know. And if YouTube is my home, then TikTok is the children's play field over the fence where you can hear that everybody's yelling, but you have no idea what they're talking about. Because I spend most of my time on YouTube, that means there's a lot of stuff that happens on TikTok that I don't hear about and miss entirely. I do my best to keep up with both platforms, but I am but one simple dumbass. The other day I received a lot of messages on my Instagram and my Twitter from people asking me to talk about the Axel Weber situation, to which I responded, "The who what?" I didn't know what that was, and I just felt so behind and ready to move past it. But then I remembered that I have a lot of creator friends who are much, much smarter than I am. And some of them probably have more information on this than I do. So I decided to get help from a friend. I am joined by TikTok celebrity and up-and-coming YouTuber, Dax Dives. Whoa. I am coming to you, the expert in the field, to tell me what the hell's going on.
So Axel Weber is a TikToker with an unreasonably small apartment who lives in New York City and apparently has rich parents, but we'll get to that later.
Wow.
So basically Axel Weber got his start by showing off his very tiny apartment, showing how he lives, how he buys peanut butter off of the street, how he buys, gets pots and pans off of the street, how he cooks in his little apartment, how he decorates his little apartment, and recently he decided to go into acting as his next venture.
Did you say peanut butter off the street?
Yeah, so that's one of his series, is that he displays how he grocery shops, which involves buying peanut butter off of a tarp for $1.
First off, peanut butter. I've got a hookup. There's this lady on the street that sells it off of a moving blanket. I think she takes it from the homeless shelter and resells it, but it's only $1 a jar.
I don't want in any way for this to invalidate people who are fighting to survive in New York, because
Right.
New York is one of the most expensive cities to live in. And people end up in those tiny little, you can't even call them a studio apartment. They're closet apartments.
And the thing is, thousands of people, maybe even millions of people in New York City live in this way. Mm-hmm. Most people do not live in these Architectural Digest, huge, expansive, massive penthouses. Most of them live in these tiny studio apartments, in these little shoebox apartments. And there's nothing to be ashamed about there. Rent is expensive, but this is the reality for a lot of New Yorkers.
But not all of them posted on TikTok.
Right. And that's the key difference here, is that I think that Axel Weber is kind of showcasing this sort of lifestyle and the reality of living in New York City, but coming at it from in such a digestible way for the average TikToker who may not be, maybe fearful of living in such a tiny dorm-style apartment.
Yeah, and from what I know, he's this young 20-something guy with a lot of energy and charisma, and it sounds fun to watch, right?
Exactly. And that's the whole thing about Axel Weber, is that he is fun to watch, and that's why people really gravitated towards him, because he is a very charismatic person.
I'd imagine that's a big thing of TikTok, right? People are on there to, connect temporarily, and if some guy is talking about an important issue like New York infrastructure, but delivering it in this cool, fun, approachable package, what could go wrong?
Absolutely. Well, a lot of things might go wrong, but...
Yep, here we are. All right, so...
Oh my gosh.
Here we have this guy who, he makes these fun little, this is how I survive in New York videos.
Right.
He's cool. And you said
They're
that he tries
very
to
cute. They're very relatable.
Right. And you said that he tries to transition that into acting.
TikTokers will often try to take their platform to another platform that's a little bit more lucrative, because as we all know, TikTok is not a very heavily monetizable platform on its own. It kind of pays pennies, even if you have a large following like Axel Weber does. TikTokers like Addison Rae getting into acting, we'll see people like Bella Poarch getting into singing, and Axel Weber decided to transfer his newfound fame into an acting career.
I'm in New York because it has 10 of the best acting schools in the country. I have an audition for Juilliard, January 9th.
Unfortunately, the first step of his acting career was trying to apply to Juilliard, an acting program that only accepts 8 to 10 people a year.
Yeah, that's, those are not great odds.
Juilliard is something that you prepare your entire life to get into. And even then, it's not a guarantee.
Right, especially if you're starting, right? Like, I mean, I don't know if he, like, acted beforehand or if this was, like, always his dream, but, like, it does kind of feel like he got a TikTok following and then was like, next step, Juilliard.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe this is naivete, maybe this is just a hopeful attitude, but I don't think that he's being malicious in trying to apply to Juilliard or anything. I don't think that
there's nothing wrong with trying.
There's nothing wrong with trying, and if this is his way of trying out acting, then that's a perfectly acceptable way for him to give this a shot.
Right. I mean, we all need to take, like, first steps, and his was just a big one, right?
Yeah. It was a very big baby step forward.
A very big baby step. Oh, it's incredible.
I have to learn some Shakespeare? Never even read Hamlet.
How did it go for him?
Axel Weber got swiftly rejected after he decided to put on a British accent during his performance.
Wait, like halfway through or like out of nowhere?
Apparently Axel Weber got nervous and he just slipped into a British accent during the performance. But the whole thing with Axel was that he was playing up his audition process. He was letting his audience into his process, into his preparation, and it all seemed kind of sudden and it all seemed kind of quick, but at the same time, he was letting his audience kind of participate in his audition.
So, parasocially, everyone got rejected from Juilliard.
Yeah. With Axel, this is our favorite white boy.
There you go. White boy with small house tries to get into Juilliard.
Yeah.
Like, we're rooting for him.
So we never actually got to see Axel Weber act. We just got to see him prepare to act.
All right, so tell me the backlash. Because, like, I imagine...
So at first, everybody was behind Axel. As soon as Axel came out with his rejection video...
As you are already aware, due to our callback process, you are no longer under consideration for admission for fall 2022. Then it goes on to say, maybe next time don't do a English accent, try Scottish or Australian, or no accent at all, you dimwit.
Celebrities came rallying behind him. People like Charlie Puth.
Wow.
Other people. I don't know who else. But all of these celebrities were coming at Axel Weber and saying, you know what, buddy, it's okay. This is just the first step of your very long acting journey. This is a career that is built around rejection. This is not the first time that this will happen. And it's okay. You're going to learn, you're going to grow from this, and don't let this dissuade you from pursuing your dreams. But his audience was not as nice about it.
Maybe not as collected.
Exactly. His audience was not as calm and collected. They decided instead to harass Juilliard for not letting their favorite white boy in. And...
How do you harass Juilliard, the institution?
I know, right? To his credit, Axel did not encourage his fans to go and harass Juilliard. I think that should go without saying.
That would have been a totally different story if he had been rejected and would have been like, get him, guys. Like, then it's about entitlement.
And I think in this situation, we're talking more about a parasocial relationship where people almost felt on behalf of Axel that he was entitled to get this acting thing. We saw a backlash to the backlash where people were saying, well, wait, Axel wasn't guaranteed a spot in Juilliard. And so we started to see, instead of what were at first very supportive celebrities duetting and stitching his content and saying, you got this, buddy, it's okay, we started to see a little bit harsher of a response towards Axel, which is, well, what did you expect? This is a program that accepts only 8 to 10 people a year, and you were clearly underprepared. Immediately following this, he got a modeling contract. which seems to be the thing that happens when TikTokers blow up and get sad. And I'm sorry. It's true, though. Turns out more information starts to surface about Axel. Turns out he has an agent already. Apparently, he was spotted at an NFT launch party in Los Angeles.
That's like a trigger sentence for me. Like, every word in that sentence made it worse.
And this was immediately prior to his rejection, probably the same week, I believe.
Whoa. Okay, so he had an agent before Juilliard, then?
Yes. Yes, before Juilliard, he already had an agent.
Oh. And now he has all these, like, fans who are, like, fighting for him and, like, probably not being super cordial.
And the thing is, you know, I think this is a symptom of a larger problem where every time, I think that internet mobs happen pretty frequently, and every time that an internet mob happens and, you know, rallies towards a certain institution or rallies around a company or a product or a brand or something, there's always a response to it. Mm-hmm. And the thing is, we're not dealing with an institution that necessarily will respond the same way to an angry internet mob. I don't think that they necessarily care.
There's going to be no social media apology from Juilliard.
They're doing fine. This has impacted them not one bit. Mm-mm. Like, not even a tiny bit. I think the most insidious part of this internet backlash was actually the tone deafness of it, because it's now all the comments are off on this post, but if I remember correctly, the most recent post since Axel Weber got rejected was a memoriam for a deceased black woman, and all of the comments were just talking about Axel Weber.
Okay.
Which is not great.
I didn't know about that at all.
Yeah. These internet mobs are basically yelling at an institution who rejected a person who was not entitled to get in and was very unlikely to get in the first place. They had never seen his acting before. They had never even known what it was like. And they're yelling at this institution who, honestly, does not care.
Right.
Could not care less. And the question is, what's different about Axel? And I think it's just because he's likable, which is not a fault of his own. And he does not deserve any hate or harassment because of this. He was just trying to show off a little bit of his life, and luckily it took off. And people really resonated with him. They resonated with his personality, and they also found him relatable. Did my audio just cut out?
Okay.
Okay, you can see me now?
Yes, we're back.
Okay, we're back. Yay. But I do think that this is a symptom of a larger problem here, right? Like, this is not just about Axel Weber. This is about the general reaction that the internet has behind random people, you know?
Right.
You don't know this man. You don't have to rally behind him. You don't have to, you know, be on his defense squad, because he's just one of the thousands who didn't get into Juilliard. And there's not much to it other than that.
Well, I think TikTok, for better or worse, is a really powerful tool to connect people, like, that you would never, ever come in contact with otherwise, right? Like,
exactly.
It's a non-ending feed of, like, here's someone else, swipe, there's someone else. And if you're able to, like, amass a following, all of a sudden, like, you've got shooters all around the world, right, who are just, like, there to support you no matter what.
But also, you know, the thing with Juilliard, too, is that it's not just an acting program. It doesn't need to be the start of your acting career. Axel said something along the lines of, well, I guess I'm going to have to try acting in a different way. Like, I guess I'm going to have to get my start somewhere else. But the thing with Juilliard is that it is kind of a recognition play.
And in a weird, twisted way, he kind of got, like, the Juilliard name behind him. Not
exactly.
in, like, not in the way he wanted, or, like, in the way anyone really, like, foresaw. But, like, from now on, there will always be a group of people that, like, whenever you say Juilliard, will think of Axel.
Now he's the Juilliard guy. And that's huge.
Yeah, like...
Exactly.
The fact that... I really do not think that it was like a 4D chess level play on his behalf, but...
I really don't.
Like, that career-wise is probably really smart. That brand recognition, right? Like, I don't think Axel planned it. Maybe his manager.
You heard it here, folks, guys.
You heard it here, folks, guys.
You heard it here first. If you want to be a successful internet person, you have to apply to schools that you know that you can't get into.
Right.
And
Document the whole thing. Make a big fuss.
document the whole thing.
Perfect. I'll throw in my own outro, but like if there's like a thing we could like summarize this with.
Support local actors.
Oh my God. That's honestly probably the most healthy message we can take from this. I'm going to wish Axel well on whatever he decides to do next, whether it be another shot at acting, whether it be even more tiny home TikToks or
I hope he
modeling.
gets a reality show. That would be great for him.
Don't say that. Don't speak that into existence. I mean, where do you think he's going next?
I think he's going to the street to buy some more peanut butter. I think that he's going to live in a hype house. You know that sentence that I said earlier that made you want to die? That was, I think I forgot to mention that it was at a hype house, the NFT launch party.
Oh, is that a hype house?
Yeah. He attended an NFT launch party at a hype house. And apparently has rich parents, but we'll get to that later.
Oh, we didn't even talk about his rich parents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, okay, so another part of the backlash that people are coming at him for is the fact that he is cosplaying as being poor. I wouldn't say that, but they did. But at first, people felt bad for him for having such a tiny apartment, despite, a lot of people in New York City living in this way. This is a pretty typical living situation. It may be very cramped and very small, but shoebox apartments are not new.
This has been a thing forever, and this is just like the newest lens that people are seeing it through. Because he calls it the world's tiniest apartment, New York's tiniest apartment.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he says that directly or if people just say that for him. Actually, he does say that it's the world's tiniest apartment, I think.
Yeah, I think that's part of the brand.
Here's what it's like living in the smallest apartment in New York.
People were feeling bad for him at first for living in this situation and for being so poor. Turns out people found his Reddit, and he's a pretty significant trader of crypto. He was posting on Wall Street bets, and he shared his portfolio, and he had don't quote me on it. You can cut this out if this isn't right, but I think that he had around 70,000 in his account when he showed it, which is not poor.
Right. It might not be like huge apartment in New York rich, but
it's not GoFundMe level, you know.
Exactly.
And also another part of the backlash was that people were saying, well, you chose to live here. You chose to live in New York City and move away from Georgia, which has significantly cheaper housing. A person coming from a wealthy household going to New York City is far different from a person who has grown up in New York City their entire life and has no financial backing, probably impoverished, and has been gentrified by people like Axel Weber moving into their neighborhood.
That's a good point, yeah. I wonder how other native New Yorkers feel about Axel going viral for choosing to live in New York and showing off a tiny apartment.
Exactly. It's like, are you trying to, are you just trying to get the experience of being poor, or are you actually in a struggling situation? Are you doing this to build character, or is it because you genuinely have a need to get peanut butter off the street?
Yeah, getting excited about a Bunsen burner is a lot different when you know he has like a crypto wallet full of NFTs.
Oh, he definitely has a crypto wallet. Are you kidding me? You don't just like happen to go to an NFT
You don't like
party.
right. You don't like wander into a hype house that's throwing
Also, the
an
fact that
NFT
you can
party.
you can afford a flight. Like those flights are expensive.
Yeah,
you
wait,
know?
hold on. Yeah, that would cost like a month of his rent to just go to LA.
Basically, these are all very expensive things that he's talking about. He's clearly grown up in a wealthy situation, and that's no fault of his own, but it kind of points to this conversation of, are you actually poor? Are you actually depicting a realistic experience for New Yorkers? Or are you just depicting it through the lens of a rich kid who is having a cool little camping trip and eventually he's going to move out to the hype house in a couple of months?
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
He does claim that his parents don't pay his rent or anything, but who knows?
I mean, is there any final note we can end on with this Axel Weber stuff? It's still ongoing, isn't it?
It's still ongoing, and as we've said before, this is just one of many.
Mm-hmm.
There will be more little Axels.
Yeah. Every week, a new Axel for us
populating the globe and the internet. And I think the important thing to take away from this conversation is to understand where you're putting your energy. Are you putting your energy into positive places? Or are you just hating on a random institution that will not listen to you?
Yeah. Yeah. Death threats at a college, really? Like,
Yeah, like
what's
what are you
happening
gonna do?
there?
I am glad that like conservatives and like the right has not gotten a hold of this situation yet, like boomers. Because can you imagine?
There's a lot there they could use, yeah.
There's a lot of all these kids with their participation trophies. The instant that Tucker Carlson gets a hold of this, probably in like 3 months.
Oh, sure, we have time.
They're like way too late on all of these things. They're
Right.
But yeah, I'm so glad that conservatives did not get a hold of this guy, because this would not be a good look for TikTok or for anybody. Ben Shapiro,
No.
please don't.
Oh, Christ. Nobody wins.
Can you believe that the leftist hate mob? Oh my gosh.
I have lived in an apartment that is much smaller than
If I
this
were to
guy.
live in
He is
an
making a big deal
apartment
out
in
of
New
any...
York City, I would probably live in an apartment that size. So,
Oh my god, why are you so good at that? Where can people find you?
you can find me on YouTube at Dax Dives, or on TikTok at Dandy Demon, which will soon be Dax Dives 2 probably, because I just reserved it, but also I probably can't change my username yet. Follow Kuncan Dastner on TikTok,
No,
Instagram,
not
and then
TikTok, no. Wait.
lastly, YouTube.
Oh my god, you put my biggest one last. Don't you dare. I'm trying to like position myself on this bed so like you don't see my feet. This is normal. After my conversation with Dax, I was thinking about everything I had learned about Axel Weber, and I understood why this was such the perfect storm for TikTok, because Axel Weber embodies like the quintessential TikTok recipe for success, like scandal and everything. He's a charming and charismatic guy with a great screen presence, and algorithm-wise, it doesn't hurt that he's skinny and white. He's cornered a niche that audiences can come back to and recognize and want to follow him for. He brought his followers with him on a journey spanning multiple videos that grew their investment along with it. And now he's able to walk away from this situation/scandal with brand deals, offers, and plenty of new opportunities, even if it wasn't the one he was aiming for. I want to agree with Dax and give Axel the benefit of the doubt. I don't think he's a bad guy, despite some key factors about him that I definitely don't agree with. But we try to stay positive here, so I'm hoping Axel doesn't let me down. Damn it, I was going to buy peanut butter for this final shot as like a haha peanut butter like joke, but I forgot to stop by the store on my way home. I don't think we have any. And I don't live in New York, so I can't just go to the street and buy some. I think we have almond butter, but I'm not that desperate. Thank you all for watching my video. I know this was probably a long one, so if you're hearing me say this right now, it means you made it to the end, so thank you for that. As always, I have received some support on Patreon by these lovely people, and they deserve some big ol' thank yous. You are all sweet and nice and perfect, and it's hard to follow up perfect. You are extra perfect. Thank you for supporting my channel and helping me pay my electricity bill. That helps. I will be getting my wisdom teeth taken out tomorrow, so my phone is going to be on airplane mode for a few days so I don't end up in one of those Jimmy Kimmel compilations, but I will be back to read the comment section in a few days, so if you have any hot takes about this Axel Weber situation, leave them down below and I'll get to them. And with that, stay safe, look after yourselves and others. I love you lots. Bye.